Hi, I'm Lindsay Gellermini. I'm an attorney and claims counsel at Conventus Insurance. I'm here today with Dr. Jeff Levy. Dr. Jeff Levy is a pediatrician here in West Orange, and our discussion topic today is on payor billing audits. Being the subject of a payor billing audit can be a very daunting or overwhelming experience, not to mention potentially financially crippling. Conventus realizes the seriousness of these audits and urges our membership to contact Conventus as soon as possible. Certainly a key to bringing an audit down to a soft landing is being able to, one, identify that you are in an audit, and two, you're at risk of a post-payment demand. With that, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Dr. Levy and discuss his recent experience. So Dr. Levy, thank you for being here. And the first question I have is really general. If you could just tell us about your initial introduction to the audit scene and any takeaways you may have had.
Well, I guess the audit started about 2 years ago when I got a letter from Horizon saying that I was going into a post-payment audit that had to do with modifiers and 4 and 5 upcoding. We see a lot of patients, and I think we were an outlier because of the number of visits we see. They wanted a copy of 50 records, not the whole record, and we sent it to a company out in Utah that was representing Horizon. And then we didn't hear from them for maybe 4 or 5 months, and I thought, well, maybe they didn't find anything. But then I got a call saying that they wanted to do a phone conference with their company and some people from Horizon, going over the problems with my charts, and I was aghast at what they said was wrong with my charts. But they sent me the charts back so I could review them. And when I reviewed them, almost all of the charts were for the same error, which was we put in a 25 modifier, which is what my computer automatically defaults to when we put in a claim. Well, apparently at some point, Horizon decided they weren't using 25 modifiers anymore, so every claim that I sent to them that had a 25 modifier was found to be an error. There was no financial gain for me to put in a modifier. It's just something that when you're adding another service, you put in a modifier. Well, then we tried to appeal it, and they said we didn't appeal it in time, and going forward, they were going to be sending all of my records to a different address in Newark to be reviewed before they would consider paying the claims. Knowing what that would mean was horrifying. I know that I'd have no cash flow. There'd be no hurry on their side to get the claims paid. And I really lost nights sleeping because I know what they can do is they can say, well, 20% of your charts were wrong, so now we're going to assume that 20% of all of your charts are wrong, and then they can say you owe us X amount of dollars, and it can be crazy. I was at a board meeting at Conventus, and this just came up with Lindsay. And she said, Dr. Levy, do you know that you have a policy, in your policy, you have $50,000 for legal fees for exactly what you're going through? And I said, I really didn't know that, but I'm glad you mentioned it. Within, I'd say, 4 months, the case was closed, and my responsibility was to pay them $123. And I just hope that anyone who gets these notices from Horizon or any of the other insurers contacts Conventus immediately, because they really did a great job in helping me out, and I'm sure they would help the other members out as well.
Conventus realizes the seriousness of these audits. We like to take an aggressive stance from the get-go and let you get back to practicing medicine. Along with your message, we urge our members to contact us early. Are there any other tips you may have for our members?
I made copies of the charts and I sent them out. Maybe that wasn't the best thing to do. I mean, when you don't have anyone telling you what to do, you often make mistakes. But Conventus has been through this many times now over the last year or two. It's becoming very commonplace. So I wouldn't even respond to the letter. I would first call Conventus and let them tell you step by step what you should be doing. In the past, every year leading up to this year, someone from Horizon in particular would come to the office. They'd ask for 30 charts. They'd sit in my office. They'd review the 30 charts, and then they'd leave and say, your charts are great. This year was the first year where they've done it significantly different, and I just wasn't prepared for what this letter actually means. It's a lot more than you may think is involved. I'm a solo practitioner. I tend to do a lot of stuff on my own, and then dealing with the attorney was all through me, and he was great. I mean, I wish I would have contacted Conventus sooner.
We want to intervene if we can, and we at the outset we recommend a number of things that coincide with your recommendation. One, make us your first phone call. We will recommend that our members not communicate with an investigator until they've spoken with us. Yes, you probably have an obligation to comply with the audit, but that we have a few recommendations for each member from the outset. If you had contacted us earlier, we'd likely ask you to identify who's requesting the records, how many records are being requested, and then to identify a trend. In your circumstance, you said they were targeting modifier 25, perhaps 59, and the high-level E&M codes. That's not uncommon with the other audits that we're seeing, so we'll ask our membership to identify. Contained within your policy with Conventus, as you mentioned earlier, we do have legal defense coverage up to $50,000 for reasonable costs to defend these billing error and omission claims. Usually, or typically, what we do in addition to hiring an attorney who specializes or has experience in these matters, we hire other experts in the field, such as coding experts, who can address those perhaps discrepancies between the payor's findings and our own findings.
Right, the attorney arranged that for me. So the coders looked at all the charts and then they made their recommendations to him. And I don't think they found anything terrible in the way the charts were submitted.
And another benefit of having a coding expert and attorney, at least in our opinion, is it allows you to get back to doing what you're supposed to be doing, and that's practicing good medicine. And it also avoids you making representations to investigators that may be, one, taken out of context, misinterpreted, or used against you should this case go to trial or during negotiations. Lastly, I just wanted to mention some of the implications that can happen from a billing audit. Others that we've experienced, there are risks of having to pay a fine or overpayments. There may be civil or criminal penalties. In some circumstances, there may be license implications or loss or exclusion from really programs. But you're not alone, and you don't have to go 2 years by yourself losing sleep. So thank you for taking the time to discuss this.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate everything that Conventus has done to help me.